and welcome to this, the first Ordinary Council meeting for 2021. I'd ask you to be upstanding, please, for the affirmation. And Councillor Gallatley will lead us in the affirmation.
We, the Council of Armidale Regional, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of Council in the best interests of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skills and judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor O'Connor to lead us in acknowledgement of country. Thanks.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Armidale Regional community pays tribute to their love of land, love of people and love of culture.
Thank you. While we're still standing, I've just been informed by a former Armidale City Councillor, Tom Briggs, who's in the audience, that Councillor Bill Knight, who was a councillor on the Armidale City Council, has passed away. Just a few seconds silence in respect, please. Thank you. Please be seated. The statement in relation to live streaming of council meetings. Mr General Manager, please.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. The meeting is being audio and video recorded and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the internet. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. All speakers are requested to ensure their comments are relevant to the particular agenda item. The chairperson may withdraw the privilege to speak where a speaker makes personal remarks or criticisms or uses abusive or inappropriate language. Speakers do not enjoy any special protection arising from comments made during council meetings and should therefore refrain from making defamatory remarks or personal defamatory statements against any individual. And with regard to mobile phones, we ask all those present to please ensure your mobile phone is turned off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Disclosure of interests. Councillors, are there any disclosures? Councillor Morat.
Mr Mayor, I have one disclosure and one comment, please. With regards to item 9.12, sale of the Croft. I have a pecuniary interest as a potential purchaser is a tenant of mine in one of my investment properties. The second one, item 9.7, I will be staying in the meeting until issues are resolved around statements made in paragraph 2, page 93 of the business paper. These statements are wrong and misleading. It is not a council officer's responsibility to decide if I have a conflict of interest in a public document. Once and only once these issues are resolved will I decide how and if I will declare interest and leave the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there other declarations? Councillor Gallatley, then Councillor Bailey.
The agent who is handling the present contract or the present
Airports.
land out at the what's the name? And it's a non-pecuniary. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bailey.
I have a non-pecuniary interest in the hydrotherapy pool. My wife is a user and was a volunteer supervisor, and as a consequence, I declare a non-pecuniary interest. But I do intend to speak on it.
Thank you. We now move to what's a new segment of our agenda, and that is presentations. And I'm delighted to inform you that we're already booked through to March, so that's heartening. It's a real pleasure to introduce to you the Vice-Chancellor of the University of New England, Professor Bridget Hayward, who's our first presenter, and she's going to talk to us about my mayoral minute in relation to the New England Science and Innovation Regional Hub. Very warm welcome to you, Professor.
Mayor and councillors, I've also brought copies for... Oh, not tall enough, usually too tall. Thank you. Mayor, thank you very much. Councillors of the Armidale Regional Council, thank you for providing the opportunity for the university to give a first view of the plans that we are developing for significant investment, which will have bearing on the aspirations and opportunities of Armidale, of the New England region, and the wider region of New England Northwest in this state. What I'd like to do today is introduce the concept that we're working through in a master planning exercise, which is the development of a STEM precinct and a precinct without walls. So rather than creating a classic domain of a cluster of buildings co-located in one single place, we are proposing that as part of the refurbishment of the current university facilities here in Armidale, as part of our developing commitment to the new campus for the university in Tamworth, and as part of our wider engagement from Moree to Taree, from Armidale to Tamworth, in the Northwest and New England region of New South Wales, that we are preparing a conversation around the development of a new concept, the precinct without walls, particularly to promote STEM education, to ensure that this region has a pipeline of appropriately future-relevant graduates who can contribute in a variety of ways to the authority of this region in a number of different business areas. And here we're referring to the industries of primary production and agri-tech. We're referring to food processing, food technologies, and upcoming issues of provenance and logistics. We're proposing the development of a new robotics centre. We are building on the work that we've already done to create a virtual hospital for the New England region. And we are strongly advocating that investment is equally needed in the creative industries and those sectors that contribute to the tourism of this region. So next week, the university will publish for the first time a decadal strategic plan, a 10-year plan titled Future Fit. Future Fit is about recognising the role of a regional university as an advocate, a stimulant, a facilitator and a narrator for the development of place-based education, knowledge translation and engagement to improve the economic, cultural and social activities across the region. We are reasserting our commitment to being a leading regional university that through partnership will bring economic opportunity both to the university, to Armidale and to the region, and by extension of the resilience and sustainability that will follow, this region will be a key contributor to the growth agenda that's proposed for the state. The university is proposing to co-invest in excess of 200 million over the next 10 years in STEM infrastructure, in order that, first of all, the university's authority as the #1 large animal agri-tech research entity in Australia, as a leading provider of agricultural, agri-tech and primary production R&D, and the leading provider of knowledge-based education and graduates who serve the future. The university commits to this investment and is seeking the support of partners in order that we can present our case at state and federal level. We are proposing a precinct without walls for STEM research, STEM education and STEM-based outreach. We are proposing a pan-regional concept, quite distinctive and novel in Australia. We have borrowed from and are informed by success stories in other rural economies around the world where this model has delivered the same goals to which we aspire. By taking a thematic approach, the UNE Regional STEM Precinct will guarantee social, cultural and economic growth. We aim to improve agricultural production, processing and distribution. By a series of tactical strategic partnerships, we aim to create a hub centred around digital intelligence. And by developing the virtual hospital and digital and virtual health training and translation, we aim to increase the well-being of remote, rural and regional communities. We have been asked why UNE and why now? So first of all, we're about to launch a decadal strategic plan after a year of organisational restructuring and challenging financial repositioning. We intend to drive tactical improvements and productivity and growth across the region by using the instrument of a precinct to create competitive critical mass across key industry sectors. We aim to link the work we've already done through the Smart Regions Incubator to our entrepreneurship extensions, and by the innovation that we've created in successful spin-out endeavours from 7 CRCs, and we remain the only university to have hosted successfully 7 CRCs in Australia, that we will increase the innovation index of the region. We will nurture a pipeline of STEM talent, and as a result of these two endeavours, we will attract new businesses and enhance regional resilience. Our model is based on convergence, that one thing must serve multiple purposes, that one investment must lead to growth of opportunity in a number of different industry sectors. And this is where the important role of the university is fully realised. That we can invest in and develop baseline infrastructure. In doing so in partnership, we will develop the capacity both of the region, of the university, of educational outreach, and of other opportunities that will add strength and purpose and create the necessary critical mass for this region to achieve its regional, national, and indeed international aspirations. I don't think they're picketing for the STEM precinct outside. So what are we doing and how do we intend to approach this? So first of all, we've commissioned Deloitte to do a full economic impact study of the investment of between 200 and 300 million in the areas that I've just specified. We've already published and promoted a learning region model, which has at its heart an agenda for partnership and engagement. We're proposing a thematic approach to develop core high-performance baseline facilities, new STEM laboratories, a new digital hub and a new data warehouse, technical partnerships with media, entertainment and digital champions to see new developments created either on the UNE campus, within the Armidale region, or between here and Tamworth on the Armidale-Tamworth corridor, or investments in Tamworth, but all joined together under one regional brand and with careful project management facilities embedded in. We've committed to stakeholder engagement across multiple layers, and we're using the same model that we have deployed successfully in Tamworth. We have already held meetings with 78 different industries across Armidale and are about to initiate the next level of engagement with other stakeholder and community groups. We have developed and promoted a place-based model, which has been acknowledged in recently published state government and federal government reports as being innovative and relevant to the regional needs and regional capabilities. And we are currently finalising the governance and advisory structures which will encapsulate regional, national and international engagement as part of developing this facility. I do not have specific time today, but the 4 thematic profiles are summarised in the pack that I've shared with the Council and will be available as we launch these plans publicly over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But they include our commitment to agri-production and processing, packaging and provenance issues, so that this region may be connected purposefully and actively to the growth agenda of the state. We have already progressed senior level tactical discussions with major international partners about creating a new digital media, entertainment, archival and education hubs here in Armidale, both within the city, the reuse of existing facilities by their purposeful upgrade, and by the development of new facilities that can provide the digital media engagement that we need, both for education purposes, but also to broaden the Creative New England agenda. We are proposing the development of archival, specialist art and archival storage facilities, and the creation of a dedicated Fab Lab, so that this region can progress to 2 and 3D printing, both to support the creative industries, but to engage in providing an axis of engagement around broader manufacturing agenda that are relevant to Australia and have been very purposed in recent reports. And as a baseline for this, we continue to develop the basic STEM infrastructure, both here and, by example, new facilities that are being agreed in collaboration with industry in Tamworth. The master planning draft will be developed over the next couple of months. We have prepared and have developed submissions to federal and state government budget processes, and these will be submitted over the next 2-3 months. In parallel with that process, we are seeking support. We are not asking for funds. We are seeking support for the vision of New England and for the vision of the opportunities that the new STEM facility for the Northwest and New England region can bring, if supported and then funded. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the university, may I thank you for your attention this evening. I'm very happy to take questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Professor. It's truly exciting what you're proposing to achieve, and I have little doubt, or I hope my colleagues will support the recommendation to provide you in-kind support. Councillors, any questions? Just councillors, I'm sorry. Councillors, any questions of Professor Hayward? No, if not, thank you very much, Professor, and we'll talk again on this topic, I'm sure. Okay, thank you. The second presentation is by Mr. Callum Clayton Dixon from the Nuwara Aboriginal Corporation. Callum.
Can I look it up?
Beg pardon?
I was included in that too.
Were you? Yeah. Okay, well, if that's the case, is it you the only speaker?
Co-speaker.
Co-speakers? Okay, you've got a maximum 15 minutes. Over to you.
Yep, the rest of that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. And is that a microphone or something, please? Just there. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor O'Connor for acknowledging that you're on Aboriginal land. And thank you to the Armidale Regional Council for the acknowledgement and the pride in being on Aboriginal land. I'm a descendant of the Anaiwan people, and you're on my ancestral land here, and I thank you for your acknowledgement and respect in all of that. Steve Wooders is my name. I'm descendant of the Anaiwan and the Kamilaroi people of this area here. But today I'm here in the capacity as chair of the Nuwara Aboriginal Corporation. Nuwara is from the Anaiwan name meaning peppermint tree and new growth. Nuwara is set up, formerly known as the Anaiwan Language Revival Group, and was set up for that purpose, to revive and respect the language that has been spoken here by my ancestors to other Aboriginal groups as they come onto this land for many thousands of years. Of course, being in New England, we were one of the first groups to lose our language when colonisation happened, and to lose our culture and to lose our way of life. As an Aboriginal person, we're reviving it. And that's, I didn't know the microphone was there. And that's why we're called the Nuwara Aboriginal Corporation. At the moment, we're looking for office space. We did have some granted to us by Homes North in Faulkner House, but we had to relinquish that because of their move. So we're without office space. We want space to house our resources, to keep our records, to learn and speak our language and share our language with anybody who's interested in learning. Our projects are to not only revive the language and to get it within the local schools and local community groups, but to produce a dictionary as well. At the moment, we're the only registered Aboriginal language revival group in this area. and we're concentrating on Anowin. And I think everybody would agree, as was pointed out in your respect, Councillor O'Connor, and I'm sure that's shared by all councillors and community members too, that it is important to revive a language that has been lost for a long time. We are not government funded. We are funded by public donation, by support, and we are able to pay some rent towards the cost of a room, which we want in the middle of town. We have looked at other avenues, but we want something where it's a central location, accessible to all people, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people to come there. That's our request. We're following up on an email that was sent to council earlier this month. We just want to speak in support of that. It's a very important project, one that will not just be for us now, but for generations